Hello, Zeke
Hello.
Cochin.
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 Yeah.
Thank you. Yes. No L.
Noel.
And so you're going to tell us the third big problem that we're facing, environmental problem, is the loss of natural areas.
Yeah.
You know, we need more nature around us in so many ways.
Exactly. Yeah. So I think one misconception that we hear a lot when we're out there tabling is about kind of this idea that you need to just get rid of your lawn, that it's a bad thing, you're putting too much water in it. And that's actually something that we're not arguing that, and we're actually arguing just to keep your lawn natural. And that's because it actually acts as like a habitat highway almost. And so in Boston, they have the Emerald Necklace, which is a series of parkways and waterways that goes throughout Boston and the different areas in there and kind of provides refuge for the different animals there. And so it's composed of 1,100 green acres. And like I said, it's the parkways and the waterways. In this busy city, the animals and different organisms need this refuge to kind of hide away and have their own area. And so we are looking to build what we're calling emerald bracelets in the different towns around Massachusetts and eastern Massachusetts. And so we have the opportunity with this 2,000 square miles of lawn that you said earlier to provide refuge for different organisms, bees, all the different things living in there, to provide refuge for them in our own towns and not just in Boston. And backyards are the perfect habitat for the bees, but only in certain ways, in these natural lawnways that we're going to talk about. And so one of these is about cutting grass, which you started to talk about, how in Springfield they actually did a study where they had a group of people cut their lawns every 1 week, 2 weeks, and 3 weeks. And they found that the people who cut their lawn every 2 and 3 weeks had more species and more bees and different species of flowers. They found 94 different species of bees and 38 species of flowers in the lawns that were cut every 2 weeks. And they found less in the lawns that were cut every 3 weeks, but still more than the lawns cut every 1 week. So it's just about the bees preferring the shorter grass over the longer grass. But
they prefer every 2 weeks instead of every 3 weeks.
Yeah, which is
it's
2 weeks
is just a little shorter.
Exactly.
You wouldn't know unless you went out there and did the research. It's good to consult with the people being affected by it.
It is.
It's good to consult with the bees, and find out instead of just thinking it through and stuff.
Yeah, and one theory for this is that the grass cut every 3 weeks is just too long for some bees to fly through. Versus the 2-week grass seems to be just the right length for the bees to come and the different animals to come.
It's a great study. You can read more about it on our website. But these researchers from the University of New Hampshire came down, and 1/4 of the different bee species they found had never been seen before in Hampden County, where Springfield, Mass. is.
Yeah.
So it's just that people aren't out there looking for them. But something I've been doing with St. Mary's School in Lynn and different communities is, and with other interns, is to have them go out to a lawn near their house or at the school and count the different species of plants that are growing in there. Because when you're at a distance, it all looks the same, unless it's flowering clover, and then you see that out and stuff. But mostly you just see these different leaf shapes, and so they're very hard to identify. But what's exciting is how many different and we see so many happy rabbits, and the turkeys around Cambridge, they're getting by because we're not fertilizing our lawns, and so we're providing natural habitat for our urban wildlife.
Yeah, and that's actually interesting. Another thing that is coming up is people are spreading more clover seeds in their lawn. That's another thing to kind of give food for the bunnies around, and that's another thing that people could do.
Mm-hmm.
And I think a lot of times people see the clovers and almost think of it as weeds. They want to get rid of it, and so they cut the grass super short, and that gets rid of the clovers and the different wildflowers that the pollinators like. So that's another issue.
Yeah, you really don't have to plant it because, as they found in Springfield, 36 different plants came in there, and different plants like different things. And so if you look at your lawn, you'll see that you probably have 2 or 3 different kinds of grass that are growing because of different conditions. Some like more sun, less sun. And that's the hardest thing about measuring. The best scenario is 1 inch of soil in a year, but this patch over there has shade, and that patch is a little too dry, or and then you have rainy summers and sunny summers. All of that affects your input.
Yeah.
But we're not in charge. The grass is in charge of that. So we just have to make the best possible conditions.
Yes.
And the best, surprise, the best conditions is let it alone. Let it be like prairie grasses where you're not.
Yeah. And then another aspect of the lawns is the watering, which is pretty popular among people. They water it a lot. And again, that same study in Springfield they watered it at the same frequency that they mowed the grass. And again, they found that if you water less frequently, there are going to be more bees, and that's just for the simple reason that the bees don't like getting bombarded with water droplets every week, which is, that makes sense. And so we can restore this natural water cycle, and the grass can kind of hold more of that water. It'll help a lot of the organisms and what we talked about previously.
Yeah, I lived out in suburbia and where we had lawns, and I never watered it, so it would brown up in the summertime. My neighbor would water his, and his driveway turned red because of all the iron in the groundwater. But my kids, we could all play on the brown grass. It didn't affect the soccer ball rolling around or anything. And as you develop more soil, then it will hold more water. So 4 inches of soil will hold 7 inches of rainwater. So that's another way to protect for climate change is we want to create these sponges to protect our houses from extreme weather events in that they'll absorb the water so you won't get the flooding and erosion, and then they'll feed the plants slowly over time, which keeps everything green longer.
Yeah.
Whereas if you fertilize, then the roots stay right at the surface and they wait for the next watering. And so that's why they think lawns need a lot of water, is because they're addicted to the fertilizer on the bug.
Yeah, and we said they kind of green up quick and then they die, and it's that sort of cycle of thinking that your fertilizer is helping a lot, but in turn it's not.
Yeah.
So, and that's kind of what we're doing with our different tabling. We're going around kind of trying to ask people to pledge not to use this fertilizer and to kind of link all the different areas in the towns to create this habitat highway and these emerald bracelets.
Right, so your lawn can be one of the jewels of your town's emerald bracelet.
Yes.
You
Yeah.
know?
So we're going out to Newton and Brookline, and we're tabling there to kind of ask people to pledge to not use this fertilizer, and like you said, make their lawn one of the jewels in this smaller emerald bracelet that we're trying to make.
Right, so each intern is kind of a case manager for different towns.
Yep.
And so you live in Newton, so
Yes.
that's a big town. And,
Yes.
and thanks for getting into that stuff. And the other towns, other people, other towns. So we've got these stickers, and the sticker has on, Taryn Johnson, who I met as a barista at the Pete's in Harvard Square, is an artist, and so she drew up the earthworm and the springtail to be our featured creatures for natural lawns with healthy soils for climate restoration.